to Allergy Dragon's Lair. My name is Martha Morgan. I'm your host. I'm a specialty diet and allergy chef, someone that lives with celiac disease and multiple food allergies, including alpha gal. But my biggest claim to fame is raising a child with over 30 food allergies and celiac disease to adulthood. Welcome to another episode of Allergy Dragon's Lair. I have a really great guest today. Her name's Nina. She's part of the yeschef program that I'm getting ready to be part of in April. So I get to pick her brain about that. But before we jump into the show and she really gets to dive into her cookbook and everything else, let me do my quick disclaimer. The views expressed here on our show are our personal opinions and life experiences of our guests and ours. We are not healthcare providers or doctors. Please ask advice from your healthcare professional for any diagnoses or changes to your healthcare plan. Hi, Nina. Thank you so much for being here. I am not going to say your last name because I do not want to butcher it. I'm horrible with names, even if people tell me their names. So, Nina, go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of tell us a little bit more about you.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. My name is Nina Greipel, and I am the daughter of the owners who opened the Gasthaus here in Louisville, Kentucky in 1993. And we've closed the restaurant back officially in 2022. We closed for service, but then we left premises in 2023. Parents retired, and I took off and wrote a cookbook. So that's kind of how you and I connected.
Exactly. And I'm really interested. I'm writing a cookbook too, and I don't have it done yet. So I'm always very envious of people that have gotten one done. So, one, kudos to you for that. I have not read your cookbook. I do really like to look at other people's cookbooks. Everybody thinks that that's weird because I can't eat half the stuff that's in there.
Mhm.
So, what made you really decide to do the cookbook and that kind of thing?
We had a lot of requests for a cookbook. I would wanted to have a cookbook just because I wanted to have a collection of, my family's recipes. It turns out after we closed, we added two more family members. My niece had a son and my brother had a son, and those two family members have never seen the Gasthaus before. My other brother's children, my nephews, they've been to the Gasthaus. They grew up in the Gasthaus, ate our food, and they were very young when we closed. They were still young, but they experienced it, and I just wanted to leave a legacy to my family members so they can see what their grandparents were up to at one point. And then of course, I think we have an interesting story to tell. My family has an interesting backstory. We also have some delicious recipes, and they're just great to share. I really enjoy the fact that, other people are now cooking our food and enjoying cooking our food and feeling good about being able to cook German food. And that just makes me so very happy. It just
Hmm.
brings me a lot of satisfaction to, hear people sharing their success stories with our recipes. It's everything.
It's really awesome. And I could just imagine because I have not ran a restaurant with my family, but you become a family with the restaurant that you have, like your restaurant family. So for it to be in my actual family, I could not imagine how heartbreaking it is to a certain degree because that's a legacy, like you said, and history and memories that you all lived and breathed. And food is so connecting. I have genetics, some German, but I don't know too awful much about the cooking because I actually was trained predominantly Italian and French, oddly enough. I could just imagine how fulfilling that it would be to have a cookbook out. And it definitely is really fun to share parts of yourself with somebody and have them create a dish because it's one feeling when people are coming to eat your food at a restaurant, but then to actually be able to teach them how to make that at their home and then you realize that they're taking the same care. It's definitely full circle. So I think that that's what's really beautiful about what is going on with your cookbook.
What you were saying about the emotions about food and connecting. Obviously, when we closed, we didn't take the decision lightly to close. It was something that we, had to do. My parents' health was, not optimal for the kind of work that it requires in the restaurant. And that was the main reason why we closed. It was not because of staffing shortages or COVID or anything else. When we did close, I had wanted to continue the restaurant. I really enjoyed working there. Obviously, I couldn't do it by myself. And so after we closed, or the week that we were closing, I was physically affected by it. I don't think I've really told anybody that yet. I wasn't able to move for at least 2 weeks. My neck and shoulders were completely stiff from the grief. And I tried everything. I tried muscle relaxers, massage, chiropractor. I just ibuprofen, everything. I tried everything to, get some relief, and nothing worked. I just had to, somebody once told me just have to give yourself some time to, relax. And so it affected me physically and emotionally very much so. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed working with my family, and I enjoyed seeing customers come through the door, and we've made lifelong friends with some of our guests that I'm still in contact with. We've been to their, weddings, birthday parties. It's a lot of great memories. And that's kind of also why I wanted to name the cookbook Gasthaus Cookbook and Memories, because it's not just a cookbook. It's kind of a collection of, I'm getting emotional here.
It's okay. Take your time.
It's a collection of memories that we've shared with our guests and staff. Let me show you some photos. It's not just recipes, like a schnitzel. I've also been able to, backstory, so I can tell you what my background is. I have a background in photojournalism, so I went to school for photography, photojournalism, and worked in the newspaper industry for a while. And that's kind of why I was confident I could do the photography part of the cookbook, but also throughout working at the Gasthaus when I was, not being a photographer, when I was working as a server, I always had either my iPhone with me or my camera with me and would always take pictures. And so my mom shared the same kind of propensity to take pictures all the time. And so we've got
Hmm.
a lot of photos of our guests, like here,
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
way back when, and even of guests that have passed on. I think that's really special about the book, that it's, it just has a lot of photos in it. Each recipe has some photos, and then we've got photos of different situations at the Gasthaus,
Mhm.
different moments.
And then beautiful food pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, lots and lots of food pictures. So,
And lots of memories. I think that's
yes.
beautiful. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
I basically just decided to do the cookbook myself. I'd taken a course on how to make a cookbook. I could do it myself. There's a way of doing
Hmm.
it. And so I bought some camera equipment and took my office studio and made it into a photo studio, and just bought some supplies and props and plates at Goodwill, and got some silverware and plateware for my family, and old antique
Hmm.
silverware, and just kind of went at it and just started taking pictures of the food that I cooked in my own kitchen.
You can definitely tell how much love you have for not just, your family, but for the business and just for being able to share that. It takes a lot of courage to be like, this is my life, here you go. And, it's very beautiful what you're doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of personal details in the book and family
Hmm.
history, interesting stories, and just things I picked up throughout the 2 years that I worked on the cookbook, just by talking to my family. Stories that
Hmm.
my parents told me about my relatives that I thought were interesting. I just thought, okay, that's something worthy of sharing, so I put it in the cookbook. Apparently,
Oh,
my
that's
great grandmother was the talk of the town when it came to homemade sauerkraut.
well, that's cool. If
Yeah.
you're gonna be the talk of something, I think that's pretty good.
Yes.
I honestly do not like sauerkraut. I know, like my mom used to be like, "What?" My mom and my husband both love sauerkraut.
Oh yeah.
It's just never something I've gotten into, and
Well, you
so
probably
does my
have never
husband.
had it made properly. That's probably why.
It's definitely a good possibility. I have never had yours. Wish I had known when I first became gluten-free, but then, like I said, I have a lot of other food allergies. But the fact that you all had gluten-free options there is really awesome. I like that because we were speaking about that before we started recording. So I want to move on. As much as I love talking about your family and your beautiful cookbook, you just completed the Yes Chef because you were the Yes Chef first person. Congratulations for January. Can you kind of like tell us about, how that experience was for you?
Oh, it was great. I had a lot of fun. So the kitchen is huge. The space where I'm teaching is huge. Seating area is even bigger. And then they were able to open one or two rooms, depending on how many chairs they needed to add space to the seating area. And we didn't know what to expect. We didn't have any kind of reservation system. We just knew that, hey, we've got 3 classes. Here's the menu. I promoted it on my own, and of course the library did. And then the first class, I offered to do pretzels, and we just got slammed. We didn't expect to have that many people, but we did have more than capacity of attendees, people in the overflow area, people standing in the hallway in between the door frames. So that being my first class to teach was intimidating and also humbling, but I think I managed okay. Pretzels are, not difficult. They're a little bit tricky timing wise, but I wanted to share that recipe because it's a fun recipe. And we had kids there, which was even better. I love teaching kids. And I gave the kids some pretzel dough and they just went at it and they rolled out their own pretzels and were so proud to like get their pretzel result out of the oven. So that was great. The library staff was very kind and I think the audience was interested in what I had to show, and I think I showed some items that were, a little tricky technique-wise. So kind of to show somebody how it's done is important. I got some good feedback from others. I think there's definitely a need for more classes. Currently looking for spaces where I can teach more classes. And, being that I'm not a trained chef. I don't have a culinary background. I have a photojournalism background. And being that my parents taught me everything I know, I felt it was important for me to do the same with, others, to share what I learned from my parents and share that with others so you can do your own cooking and your own baking and to show that it's really not that difficult to do German food.
I was looking at Facebook on one of your with one of the classes. I don't remember if it was a pretzel one or not, but there was just like tons of people, and so it looked
Mhm.
like you were having a lot of fun. Because like I said, I was looking at Facebook, so living vicariously. Like I'm like, oh look, she had like a really good turnout, like because there was tons of people there, and that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm glad that it was such a positive experience. I'm super excited, like I said, about my Yes Chef experience as well. So thank you for letting me pick your
Oh, you'll
brain
love it.
and
The staff is
awesome.
super nice and the space is just amazing. You'll have a good time.
Okay, awesome. We were talking earlier about before we were recording that you all had gluten-free options at the restaurant, but even outside of the restaurant, do you have any experience with food allergies or anything else? I mean, obviously with gluten-free you do.
Well, I used to work in other restaurants, obviously,
Hmm.
and I tend to be the one that the most aware of food allergies just by my, understanding that, it is something that people actually struggle with. And I do care about people's well-being. And like I worked at Vincenzo's for a while and in catering, and we'd have several people that couldn't eat what we served everybody. And so I was the one that was like the go-to person to figure out, okay, that person over there and that person over there needs something special. Yeah, I mean, I don't personally have any food allergies. I'm lucky like that. I can just eat whatever I want. I've got a friend who's had a gluten allergy for several years. Oftentimes when we would go out, we would have to make sure that she would get special foods. I was aware of the food allergens in the Gasthaus. We obviously had a specialty menu for gluten-free items. I knew the ingredients to all the foods. I knew that, for example, a seasoning that we used in the Gasthaus called Maggi. It's kind of like an umami adding seasoning that actually has gluten in it, so we can't use that for any gluten-free items. That's definitely it's a challenge for somebody who has an allergy to go out to eat because you just sometimes never know what people put in the food or if they even care enough to, be careful.
That is awesome that you are so aware of it because not everybody has that lens, and that's fine in the culinary world. Not everybody does have that lens, but I'm glad to hear that you do.
Mhm.
And I think that that's what I want to bring up is the fact that you may not have any food allergies, but you have friends that have food allergies, and you had customers that have food allergies, and you were very aware of that, and you wanted to accommodate them. And I
Mhm.
think that that's another beautiful layer because it's just another added layer. Because when we serve people food, we want them to eat the food. We don't want to tell people, no, you can't eat my food. But at the same time, you don't want to hurt anybody.
Right.
So I think that's awesome that you were aware because not everybody is. So thank you very much.
I just wanted to also mention that writing a cookbook, I mean, it was a challenge, and I obviously had some head start, being that I have the photography already covered. But I would like to mention that, if anybody's interested in writing a cookbook about their own family's recipes, it's not completely impossible to do these days with software you can get, digital cameras. It's
Mhm.
really not that difficult. I mean, it is difficult. Don't get me wrong. This was a challenging project, but if you were to like want to write a cookbook for your own family, with your own family's recipes and take your own photos, it's something that's completely doable. And I would highly recommend people to do that, especially being that, it's important to keep legacies alive.
I agree with that, and that's awesome. And yeah, I think it's definitely doable. Working on mine, and the thing is I just don't ever get time to completely do it. So
Mhm.
that's one of my plans this year. We'll see.
Yes, yes,
It's my
yeah.
goal. It's my
You
goal.
have to You have to be fully dedicated. I wouldn't have been able to do it, working a full-time job and finishing the cookbook. It was challenging, but I really did enjoy it. I'm really glad it was so well received and that people actually see it as more than just a cookbook.
That's awesome that people are seeing your vision. Okay, I guess we're going to be wrapping up this episode here. Nina, thank you so much for taking the time to come by. Ending question is always the same. If you have anything you want to say that was not covered, so please take the time to do that. Or if you want to leave an ending thought, or both.
Well, I just wanted to say I'm very grateful and humbled by the response to the cookbook. I'm very happy that I've had people come to me and, tell me how much they enjoyed cooking our recipes and bringing the family together. I've had people send me photos of their creations. One family sent me a whole spread of their food that they made for Thanksgiving of all of our cookbooks recipes. So that was amazing. And I'm just, I'm very, very thankful that you guys like cookbook. I'm grateful for my family for supporting me and hope I can spread more German recipes in the future with maybe a second cookbook or even an ebook. But that remains to be seen if I have the time. Hopefully I will, because there's some recipes that I was missing in the book I'd like to add.
That'd be awesome. It'd be also cool if they did one that was like had some gluten-free options in there.
This cookbook has gluten-free options in it. It's
See, it's perfect. See, I need to get it for sure then.
I think I might have even made a note in the index of which ones are gluten-free. But if you get the cookbook and you have any questions about which ones are, let me know. I can tell you.
Awesome. Awesome. See, even more reason for you to be on the show.
Yeah, this one is the gluten-free dessert,
And what's that one called?
the fallen chocolate souffle.
Awesome. See, guys, she's got us covered if you got some gluten-free family members or if you're gluten-free. That's awesome. Okay, even more reason to go get a book. Thank you so much, Nina, for being here, for sharing your story, for sharing the fact that you have a cookbook and that you are knowledgeable in gluten-free items, which makes it even better, and that you are aware of food allergies. So I think that even if you had other questions for substitutions that Nina could probably help you with those as well.
Absolutely.
So awesome. So if you do get the cookbook and you find that there's some allergens or gluten-free questions, she's got you covered. So
Yeah.
make sure you get a copy. I'll have everything linked below to contact Nina to get a hold of the cookbook, get your copy, or if you just want to message her, follow her along, that kind of thing. So wherever you're listening to this podcast at, please make sure you subscribe, like, share, and if you could review us, that would be awesome too. It really helps our status.
Thank
So
you.
thanks again, and we will talk to you all later, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.